You are not lazy, and you probably don't lack discipline either. The real reason your life keeps repeating the same cycle is because your identity keeps returning to the same version of yourself. You try to change, you get motivated, you start strong, and then somehow, you disappear from your own goals again. Most people think consistency is about willpower, so every time they fail, they blame themselves. They say things like, "I need more motivation. I need to stop being lazy. I just need to try harder next time." But that's not the real problem. The real problem is that most people only know how to change emotionally. They change when they feel inspired. They work when they feel motivated. They become productive when life feels good. But the moment stress enters their life, everything collapses. The gym stops. The routine disappears. The goals become forgotten. The discipline fades. And after repeating this cycle for months, or even years, you slowly start believing something dangerous. You start believing, maybe I'm just not a disciplined person. That belief destroys people, because once someone identifies themselves as inconsistent, they unconsciously protect that identity. That's why people keep restarting. New routine, new motivation, new mindset, same result. And deep down, the worst part is not failure. It's disappointment. The disappointment of knowing what you could become, while watching yourself repeat the same patterns over and over again. That silent frustration slowly destroys confidence, because every broken promise to yourself weakens the way you see yourself, and eventually, you stop trusting your own words. But here's the truth most people never realize. Consistency is not about motivation, and discipline is not about intensity. It's about identity repetition. The reason some people stay consistent is not because they feel better than you. It's because they stop negotiating with who they decided to become. That's the difference. Most people treat discipline like an emotion. Disciplined people treat it like a standard. A stoic mindset understands something powerful. You cannot control your emotions every day, but you can control your systems. You can control what time you wake up. You can control your environment. You can control what habits you repeat. And every repeated action slowly becomes evidence. Evidence that says, this is who I am now. That is how identity changes. Not through motivation, not through watching inspirational videos, not through waiting for the perfect time, but through repeated behavior. Small actions, repeated consistently. That's why successful people often look boring, because consistency is usually quiet. There is no dramatic moment, no massive transformation overnight, just repetition, again and again and again, until the new identity becomes natural. So if you truly want to become consistent, stop focusing on motivation. Focus on removing friction. Make discipline easier to repeat. Most people fail because they build routines based on intensity instead of sustainability. They try to change their entire life in 1 week. Wake up at 5 a.m., work out daily, read books, meditate, eat perfectly, build a business, and eventually their brain becomes exhausted. Then they quit. Real consistency is simpler than people think. Start small enough that you cannot emotionally resist it. 1 page, 10 minutes, 1 workout, 1 disciplined decision. Because consistency is not built through massive effort. It is built through repeated proof. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your identity strengthens, and eventually your mind stops saying, I'm trying to become disciplined. Instead, it starts saying, this is just who I am. That is the real goal, not temporary motivation, identity transformation. Another important truth, your environment matters more than motivation. If your room creates distraction, your mind will follow. If your habits reward comfort, discipline becomes harder. If your life is built around dopamine and escape, focus disappears. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems. That's why clarity matters. Because once your life becomes clear, your decisions become lighter. And when decisions become lighter, consistency becomes possible. So if you've been blaming yourself for being inconsistent, stop for a moment. You are not broken. You are simply repeating systems and identities that no longer serve the person you want to become. The moment you stop relying on emotions and start building standards, your life slowly changes, quietly, not instantly, but permanently. Because discipline is not about becoming someone else. It's about finally becoming someone you can trust. And maybe that's what consistency really is, keeping promises to yourself long enough until your identity finally believes you. If this gave you clarity, subscribe to the Clarity Room and come back here whenever your mind starts becoming noisy again.